All right, well, welcome everybody. This is an interview here. We have Steve Rosen, who is in a suburb of Toronto today. Is that correct, Steve?
That's right on, John.
Yeah, and Stephen is the author of the book, not one, not two, not 5 tips, but 52 tips, right?
Yeah,
On effective sales management. You want to hold up the book for the viewers so they
I,
can see
I,
it?
I sure can. I don't want to. Let's see if that's probably
Yeah,
good.
that's perfect.
52 sales management tips, the
Yeah,
sales manager's success guide,
exactly.
written.
So, what I have consistently said, and what I consistently believe about sales management, is that it is the single biggest revenue multiplier in an organization. And I say that because if you have a good sales manager, then they'll bring out the best in your salespeople. They'll manage the sales pipeline properly. They'll coach properly, all of that, and you will get a higher performance. And if you can get an incremental increase in performance from each of your salespeople, whether it's 1% on one person or 10% on another, overall cumulatively, you're going to get your greatest revenue multiplier, right?
100%. Now, you get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Many folks get it, but most sales executives probably get it, but don't put the investment in. They don't put their money where their mouth is, and it's a real shame. And I think probably the most underdeveloped area in the sales arena, whether it be sales enablement, sales training, creation of content for sales, CRM, is actually developing sales managers. And it's the biggest opportunity and probably the most cost-effective way you can actually improve the performance of your team.
Yeah. So why do you think that is? Why is it that more often than not, we take a successful salesperson, right? Senior, been around for a while, done
Yeah.
great numbers, and we go, let's make them sales manager, right? We make them sales manager, and then we just go, they'll know what to do.
See, actually, it's funny because I thought you were going to ask me, and that is exactly the mentality. They'll know what to do. And you know what? Many of them, and I have different, 10 of the biggest mistakes you make in terms of sales managers, and one is being the super rep.
Mm-hmm.
And if you promote a super rep into a manager role, they tend to be the super rep because they don't understand how their role is to evolve. Now, some of the skills can be applied in terms of good listening skills, asking good questions if you're a good salesperson, but the expectation for management, and they probably went through the same thing. And
Right.
if you're a VP of sales now, you probably think, hey, I was able to do it. So I assume that Johnny, who's a great salesperson, can do the same. And that's one of the biggest mistakes they make.
Yeah.
And there's just an article, I forget who wrote it, but saying that you lose twice, right? Because you lose
Right.
your best rep. And if you have your best rep comes out to be a crappy manager, then you've had two failures in the same decision.
Yeah, well, absolutely, because it's rare that the super sales rep who is promoted to being the manager and then fails as a manager because they were never properly trained or maybe weren't the right fit. It's rare that they're just going to want to go back into being a salesperson again. They're going to move on somewhere else because
Yeah.
you're right. You lose twice. So, so given all this, what prompted you to write 52 tips?
Well, 52 Sales Management Tips, to be honest, is a very simple book. I've been in the sales management arena it's hard to believe. I know you can't tell by looking at me, but 25 years when I actually
I'm shocked.
add all of it together.
I thought you were a newcomer like myself.
I thought I was too, but when you actually do the math.
Yeah.
So, I grew up through the sales ranks. My first job out of, graduating was a sales rep. Calling on retail stores, and I won sales rep of the year and then became a sales manager. And I was lucky to have a very nice little lady. Her name was Pat, and we used to call her Auntie Pat.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's since passed away, and she coached me as a manager a little bit. And I guess I've learned through the school of hard knocks that, over the last 25 years, I don't know, some things I've done well in retrospect. And I kind of, started writing, and I said, what are some of the things that I share with my clients? I've been coaching sales managers and sales executives for the last eight or 10 years. And there's always seems to be a few things that I share all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe I'll put that into a book. It's not rocket science, but some things actually really work. And people think it is rocket science, but it's just stuff that I've experienced and then I re-experienced sharing through clients. And they think, That's a good idea. So, I put it together in a book. I joke, because many sales managers, just by nature, are Type A personalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're a Type A, John, but I don't know you well enough. But I sense that, and no one wants to spend time reading a book,
Right.
right? So these are very short, sharp tips. I had a little fun with it. I wrote it in my deck over the summer,
Excellent.
one summer, and I sell copies every year, and when I get my Amazon checks in, I kind of run to the bank and feel that I won the lottery. But there's some good ideas here. If you're looking for War and Peace, this is not the book for you.
Yeah.
And there's some really great sales management books written, but if you want, the whole reason why I was 52 is one tip a week for a year. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's good because I'm still waiting for the sequel for War and Peace.
I'm not writing it, so I can maybe the Reader's Digest version.
So anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about at the beginning with the way salespeople or people are dumped into being sales managers without like proper preparation. Why is it that many people think that this is a role that doesn't need training? Because you wouldn't dump most people into their jobs with zero training, but we think it's okay to dump somebody into a sales manager job with zero training.
That's a great question, and I'm not sure if I have a great answer for it, but part of what I do is I do some annual research. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions we go out and we ask is, does your company support new sales managers? And whether you agree or disagree, what we found over the last 2 years is only a third of companies have any ongoing support for new sales managers.
Right.
Which on the inverse says there's 2/3 that are doing nada. Mm-hmm. So I guess the question is why. I think the reason when people ask me is exactly the reason you gave up front. People expect you to know what to do.
Right.
It's even, for example, I've had the fortune enough to move into a variety of positions, and to be honest, I wasn't trained for any of my positions. Right? It's like, okay, we're going to promote Steven. And Steven was a go-to guy when he was in industry. I'll take it.
Right.
And only in retrospect did I realize what my secret to success was. And I may share it, I may not. We'll see if you pull it out. But it's in my book.
Okay.
But companies are, depending on how much resources a company has, right? If you're smaller, well, if you have a training resource for sales, you're probably happy. So, as you go up, most organizations do a very bad job on leadership development.
Sure.
Right? And so unless executives search out their own training or their own coaching or their own thing, they're not getting developed. Absolutely. So sales managers are kind of in that middle level, right? Where they probably don't go out themselves and do it. They're waiting for their company. And kind of my message to them is there's so many resources out there, that you have to take control of your career because for whatever reason, your company's not doing it, and they're probably not going to do it. And I think if you have some listeners who are great salespeople, I would ask the company, what support are you giving me to move into this role?
Yeah, no, I really like that idea about encouraging people to don't sit around and wait for your company to do it, but actually go out and educate yourself. And obviously, your book is a great place to start. Yeah. But I love that idea. Is be proactive rather than because in most things in life you wouldn't just jump in. I think there's another interesting point as well, and maybe one that's companies don't think enough about it is, for instance, if you take sport, we were talking about sport before we came on live here about the teams, right? You look at the best managers in sport, right? Not all of those were the best players. Some of them didn't even play at the top level. You can look at if you want to look at an example from soccer today, you have at Manchester United, Jose Mourinho, who's won everything at clubs, one of the greatest managers in the world, whether you like him or don't, was never had much of a playing career at all. In fact, at very low level, hardly any playing career at all. So do you think it is that maybe companies are not looking for the right type of skill set? They just think good salesperson got to be a good manager.
For sure. And let me expound that. If they're not investing in their ongoing sales managers, they don't really understand what the right characteristics of great sales managers are. I mean, companies spend a lot of time trying to figure out, I was in the pharmaceutical industry. Do we hire business people who come from business?
Right.
Or do we hire people who come from healthcare or sciences? Mm-hmm. right? And there's no answer to it, dependent on the company and the
Sure.
products. But we spent a lot of time thinking about that. When it comes to management, there isn't much thought given to, okay, we're going to hire, this person's performing really well. So performance is a factor. And the immediate assumption is, hey, you perform well as a sales rep, you're going to perform well as as a sales manager, which we know is not true. And in one of my training courses, and I get it, you're from Ireland,
Yep.
and you're probably not the biggest hockey fan as someone from Canada, because we
Yeah.
all, we're 24 hours a day watching hockey.
Yeah.
But joking aside, the greatest player in the history of hockey, Wayne Gretzky,
Yeah.
was not the most successful coach.
And
And not to pick on Wayne. Wayne's a great guy, but we learned from that to think that A translated into B, that he'd be a great coach, is just not true.
Yeah.
Well,
there's that whole concept about a lot of successful people are unconsciously competent, right? So they're really, really good, but they don't know what makes them good, and they can't translate it.
Well, very true. Very true. I mean, I don't know if you caught it earlier, but, when I was in industry, I thought I was pretty successful as a VP of sales. I had really good growth. But
Right.
not till I walked away and started my own business and tried to think, what do we do to be successful? And you don't do it when you're in the moment, right? You consciously, hey, you're moving, right? And business, most people, their plates are so overflowing, they don't even have time to think, am I wearing a nice tie today?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Or am I wearing a tie at all?
What are we doing really well? Right? So I'm going to share that. You asked a good question.
Okay.
So I'm going to share
Excellent.
what I believe is the key to success.
Okay.
At least it's been for me.
Okay.
Okay. And in most cases, you're not trained for the job you're promoted to.
Correct.
You're just not. Right? And you're promoted because you did something good in the past, which doesn't mean you're going to do something good at a new level.
Correct.
So, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, although I'm not the dumbest guy in the world. So my approach is I figured out the 2 or 3 key things that I needed or my group needed to do to be successful. Keep it very simple. Don't flip my book. Focus on those 2 or 3 critical success factors and figure out how to do them well. And you may not know that. Find resources, get your people. And that's something I teach in a variety of things I do, helping sales executives become successful, helping sales managers. If you can figure out the 2 or 3 key things, and if it's for a sales manager, well, you want to be a great coach, right? You want to engage your people, right? Maybe leadership or business acumen, depending on your business and what's needed.
Yeah.
But if you focus on those areas and you've picked almost, close to the top areas, you don't have to be the top, pick all the exact 3 and say, hey, I'm going to focus on these. I'm going to be really good at those. I think in most cases, you'll be successful.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's another kind of soapbox of mine is this whole area of focus.
Yeah.
I think people have huge difficulty choosing a few things to focus on because it's not that they can't find what's important. The problem is when you choose 2 or 3 things, it means you unchoose 10 other things, right?
Yes.
And people don't like to make choices, and people get worried, and that's why they love this whole idea. Oh, I'm a great multitasker, and I think, is that because you can't focus on anything in particular, and you don't want to make choices? That you're this wonderful multitasker. Okay, well, talking about focus. Let's focus in on 2 or 3 things from your book that maybe somebody listening could start to think about today. If you had to pick out a couple of things, and as I said, I'd encourage them to go get the book and read it. And as you say, it's a good, simple read. But let's pick 2 or 3 things that would really help somebody if they just thought about that and applied that today.
Okay. Well, one of them that always comes to mind, and this one I can take credit for because some I learned from other people, and I call it the preemptive strike.
Okay.
Okay. And really, at the end of the day, if you're a manager, there's always going to be issues, right?
Sure.
You're going to be off. One rep is going to be off, or you're going to have problems here, or you're going to have problems there. And this is about managing your boss. Okay. And I used to do it very effectively. When I was VP of sales, the person who got the sales numbers in every month reported to me. Nobody in the corporation saw the sales numbers until I saw the sales numbers. And I'm not a control freak.
Sure.
But if there's a problem, I'd rather be the one to figure it out than somebody else.
Yeah.
So if you're a manager and you're having issues in your region, Okay, figure out what those issues are and come up with a plan. So this is a wonderful example. I don't know if you remember SARS. SARS was a long time ago.
Yeah,
It
no,
was a new disease.
yeah.
I was in the healthcare area. We couldn't see hospitals. So in February, it hit March, and Toronto was hit pretty big. I thought, oh, my sales numbers are off. What am I going to do? And there's not much you can do as a VP of sales.
Yeah.
Right? So I came up with a 3-point plan. Walked down the hall to my boss's office, who's the president, and I said, I'm concerned about sales, and I'm going to do A, cancel all training, B, have the trainers go out in the field, and we're going to create a contest to find ways to get into hospitals that we can't. And I left his office. Sales came out the next day. You think I got a call if there's a problem?
No.
Because he knew I was handling it.
Exactly.
So no matter what role you're in, if you're a sales rep, a manager, bosses always worry. So if they're not worried about me, then they're worried about you. So they're always thinking, are my guys on top of their business? So hiding issues doesn't work. Proactively or preemptively striking that, hey, there is an issue before they figure it out and having a plan. In most cases, people think, hey, Steven's on top of his business.
Yeah,
I encourage people to do that. It's not about hiding. It's about knowing your issues. When you come, right now we're doing quarterly business reviews with companies. When I have sales managers who come and have a problem and they present it and they don't present a solution, they get killed.
Yeah.
I just saw it with one manager, and I said, why did you present it? And he tried to fluff off his calls. His sales rep calls were down. He tried to fluff it off, and I said, all you have to say is I'm on top of it and I'm doing A, B, and C.
Correct.
And he would have been left alone, but he got tortured up there on that one thing.
Yeah.
So if you remember one thing, if you want to manage your boss and show that you're on top of your business, be proactive.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm so glad you picked that one, because it's one of the things that I like to preach as well. When people, and especially when people go into a management position, they're always worrying about managing downwards, and I'm always saying to them, managing downwards, yeah, you need to figure that piece out, but the piece you need to figure out immediately is managing upwards. And most people don't even understand the concept of managing upwards. And when they do, they're like, that makes so much sense. And as you're right, for a sales manager, managing upwards, it couldn't be more critical.
Well, it allows you to manage your business. In those days, I had a boss, and one of my employees described him as, we'd plant a seed, and every day he'd dig it up to see why it's not growing. Right. So part of it is you need to show you have a plan in place. I'll share another one with you for coaches. Okay. And I haven't asked you. I asked you about sports teams. Are you married, John?
I am indeed. Yeah.
Okay. So does your spouse? Do you like when your spouse tells you what to do?
No, I don't. Does that stop her doing it? Absolutely not.
So nobody wants to be told what to do anymore, right? Yeah. Right. So. When we coach, we say, hey, we're coaching someone. Well, if we're in tell mode, if we're telling, hey, you should do this, like I just did now about my tip, I actually told. So it's not good coaching, right? It's, hey, you should do this, you do that, you do that. And it's easy to do. Great coaching is about asking effective questions, again, the individual. Nobody wants to think. People I coach, high-level executives, have told me, Steven, just tell me what to do. Yeah. And I think, then I'm such a shitty coach if I tell you what to do. And I fall into that trap sometimes because I want to move quicker. Yeah. But great coaches ask their people, what would you do? What are you thinking? What are the obstacles? How can you overcome them? And it really takes a lot of self-awareness to do that, because it's very easy to tell.
Yeah, it is. And it's one of the key principal rules of communication is that people believe conclusions they come to themselves than anything told to them.
And that's where there's buy-in, right? Because it's my idea.
Yeah.
Right? And go implement it. You're empowering your people to implement their ideas.
But to your point, if you're coaching them and you get them you do some discovery with them, you get them to come to the conclusions themselves, because at the end of the day, people, if they feel comfortable, I'm sure you've experienced it. Once they feel comfortable and they feel like they're going through the process, they're the very people who'll go, you know what I'm not doing right here? I'll figure it out and I'll point it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's where coaching, because when you're a manager, the concept of a manager is you're managing, right? Yeah. And you do have to manage certain things.
Absolutely.
But as a coach, it's a different hat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I call putting on your coaching hat of moving from telling to asking.
Yeah. Okay, let's have one more
Okay,
tip
I'm
that you'd
thinking
like to
here. I
give.
knew that
Yeah.
was coming.
Yeah.
So here's one of my favorites that I get a lot of head nodding on, and I'm going to shift to hiring people.
Okay.
Okay, so my tip, I don't remember what number it is. It says, don't hire the plug and play.
Explain plug and play to me.
Okay, so plug and play, at the end of the day, as a manager, you have a vacancy, you want to fill it. The easiest way to fill it is someone who knows the industry,
Right.
knows the customers,
Mm-hmm.
who you can just put right in and not have to spend a lot of time with them.
Yep.
But
Makes sense.
sometimes they come with baggage.
Okay.
Okay, so they maybe you're a good fit for the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hire someone who's got the right goods, who can get out there and make a difference, after the 6 months and working with this person requires a bit more work and effort, hiring the right attitude is going to do far better than the easy hire. And I see it time and time again where someone says, hey, this person, they know the industry, it'll be very easy. Well, that's a mistake because sometimes you're not looking at the attitude and what they bring to the table. And to me, success in sales is the ability to learn, to adjust, to have the right attitude to engage customers. So if you're looking for the easy fit, in the long run, that's usually a mistake. And I've seen it time and time again. And when I bring it up to people, someone says, oh, Steven, I almost hired the plug and play. And I laugh. And I said, good, you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No,
So
that's really fascinating. That is a fascinating point because, that is our natural inclination is to try and get the plug and play, as you say. Okay, so one final thing to ask you. So, we talked a lot about the challenges of sales management and all of that. So,
yes.
and there's lots of statistics around it and all of that. But why is it still a great job?
I enjoy impacting people in a positive way. And I know if I've had a good coaching session that someone is charged up. So management's a hard position. Middle management's a hard position, but it can be completely gratifying, right? If you have the right attitude, you have the right approach. So it's not easy. Few do really well at it, but the ones who do well are not stressed. They love what they do. And I think at the end of the day, if you're someone who is driven by performance, having to manage a team is actually a very interesting prospect. So it depends what motivates you. And if you're motivated, if you say it's money, well, management may not be the right place to go because at the end of the day, you don't always make the most money as a manager. Sometimes you got to give up some.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be about the desire or the internal motivation to positively impact people and build a team. And some people love that stuff.
Yeah. No, that's a great synopsis there. Okay, so let's see your book again and give the folks there some indication about how they can connect with you if they'd like to.
Yeah, on the web, my company's called Star Results. You can find me at www.starresults.com, or my name is Steven, so you can write Steven at starresults.com. My phone number, I'm happy to give it out, though it rings pretty frequently sometimes. Only at inopportune times is 905-737-4548. And you'll find me on LinkedIn. I've got a Facebook page and pretty out there on social media and writing and sharing my thoughts in the area of sales leadership and how leadership can impact companies on a grand scale and how we can help companies crush their sales numbers.
Excellent. And who doesn't? And everybody wants to crush their numbers. So that's great. All right. Well, listen, thank you, Steven. It's a pleasure. Listen, great taking time out of your day to have a quick chat with us. Your book is available in the SalesPOP bookstore. So that's salespop.pipelinersales.com. Our online sales magazine. Your book is available there. And look forward to chatting to you soon.
And anything I can do to help you, it's a pleasure, John. Some great questions, and I've had a lot of fun today chatting with you. So have a great weekend, and look forward to chatting soon.
Yeah, thanks, Steven.